Hi, I'm Katie and today we're going to be learning how to make a granny square using Wool and the Gang Shiny Happy Cotton, and from this how we can sew them together to make your very own granny square blanket. Let's get crocheting! So in the granny square we're going to be using 3 different stitch techniques. We're going to be using chain stitch to start, then we're going to be using double crochet and single crochet to finish the edges. We're also going to be showing how we can change colour and sew in all our ends. In our square we use lots of colour because I love colour, so we're going to be using all of these shiny happy cottons, and the hot pink is my favourite. To start our granny square I'm going to be using vitamin C, and to start off we want to learn how to hold our hook and our yarn. I hold my hook like a pen, and then we want to take our yarn and first of all we want to do our slip stitch. So if you wrap the yarn round, grab your tail and just pull it through, this creates our slip stitch to put onto our hook. Once that's on our hook, we want to learn how to hold our yarn. When holding our yarn, I always hold mine and remember it by creating this kind of shadow puppet bunny hand position. And then we want to lay the yarn over our palm, round the back of our hand. And if we take our, like a thumb and forefinger, this can pinch our tail, and we keep our middle finger out, so we just want this tight space that we work in between. To start off, we want to start our middle of our granny square with 5 chains. Now we only count our chain once it's off the hook, so we want to wrap around our hook, twist our hook down and pull towards us and pull through. That's 1 chain. Do it again, 2 chains. Around the hook, pull through, 3 chains. Around, 4 chains. Around, 5. Once we've got 5 chains on our hook, we want to join this small chain to make the donut shape to start our granny square from. So we want to place the first stitch onto our hook to get this U shape, and if you pinch this with your thumb and forefinger, it means we can wrap around and pull through both on our hook, and this is a slip stitch. And this creates the foundation ring that our granny square works off of. We then want to create our kind of tadpole shape to start, and to replicate our first double crochet we chain up 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and this 3 stitches act as a double crochet. So now when we want to start our very first ring, we're going to introduce a double crochet. All that is 1 stage longer, so we wrap around the hook first into our central ring, so we go from the front through to the back, wrap the yarn around and just pull through to the front. We'll know we're doing our double crochet right if we've got 3 loops on our hook. Then we wrap round, and you always want to combine 2 stitches at once. So we wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, and that's a double crochet. We want to do 1 more of these in our first cluster. So we wrap around the hook again, into the center of our donut, wrap, pull through to the front till we've got our 3 loops on our hook, wrap around, pull through 2, wrap around, pull through 2. This creates our first cluster of 3. Can you see here our first chain acts as a double crochet, and then we have 2 more to follow. We want to make our first corner of our granny square by chaining 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then go back in to make another section of clusters of double crochet. So now we wrap around the hook again, into the middle, pull through, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. And we do this 2 more times to get a full cluster of 3. So round, into the middle, pull through to the front, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. And our final third one, pull through to the front, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. Now this is our first corner of our granny square, and we want to complete this until we get to the whole way around. So we do 3 chains to make our next corner, and then back into the center with our double crochet. So round, into the middle, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. Now we've nearly completed it, we've got 1 more corner left. 1, 2, 3, around the hook into our double crochet, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. For our final cluster, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, and now we're getting to our final corner where we've got our last chain. I'm going to be changing colours, but if you wanted to do your granny square in one colour, you could just continue the pattern. But we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to change to my next colour. So this is our end corner, but we want to join our pieces first in a slip stitch. So if you count up 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in the very top we want to join it. So we go under the whole V of the stitch, wrap around, pull through to the front, and pull through the stitch on a hook, and that fastens it off. I always like to make sure it's double secure with a blanket, so then I wrap around my hook, pull through, and this is then where I would cut off. Leave a long enough tail that we can sew in our ends. It's always better to have a little bit too long than too short. Pull through, and that's our very first centre of our granny square to start from. Now to introduce our second colour, I'm going to use Magic Mint, so let's swap in the mint, take out the orange. To start with our second colour, we want to always start in a different place than where we ended, because otherwise you end up with all your ends in one line and it becomes like a lump on your blanket. So if we take our colour and we do our slip stitch, and we place our slip knot onto our hook, make it tight, I'm going to start from this second corner over here. And now it's very similar to a single crochet. We want to go with the knot on our hook in from the front to the back, pull through to the front, so we've got 2 loops on our hook, wrap around and pull through. This stitch acts as our first stitch because we've got the height. So we want to chain 2 more up to get our height, 1, 2, and this acts as our fake first double crochet. So now in the corner we want to do 2 sets of clusters, so we're going to do 2 more double crochets, so around the hook, into the corner, wrap, pull through to the front, round, pull through 2, round, pull through 2. Around the hook, into the corner, pull through to the front, round, pull through 2, round, pull through 2. Now our corner is where we add our extra stitches and how we extend our granny square. So now we want to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then work back into the same hull. I'm just going to give myself a bit more yarn. So now we want to go back into our same hull. We're going to wrap around our hook, into the corner, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. Our second double crochet around the hook, into the same corner, to the front where we've got our 3 stitches, remember, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, and our final third one. This is how we work into the corner, and then this is how we'll extend our granny square. Now, for our next one, this is where it changes from the first ring. We want to get into our next corner. For this, I then will start my next double crochet around the hook, and I'll skip into the next big hull, pull through to the front, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, around the hook, into the corner, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. Once we start extending our granny square, it gets a lot easier to work out where you are, but the trick is always lining up your corners. So we do our 3 chain in the corner because we've done our cluster, wrap around for our double crochet, into the corner, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. Around the hook, into the corner, pull through, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, around and back in. Here we can see we're starting to really extend our granny square and it's starting to look more recognisable. Now we want to work our way all the way around. And for this round, I'm going to be doing 2 rounds in this colour. Traditional granny squares, much like my granny would have made, change colour every row. But I always sometimes think it's better to get a kind of bit more random, uneven rows. And also it leaves us with less ends, which is always good. So for this one, I've done my next cluster, and I'm going to do my chain of 3, and back into my double crochet cluster. So wrap in, pull 3, pull 3, pull 3, wrap and pull through. Remember again, when we're skipping to the next corner, we're not doing a chain or anything, we're just going to another double crochet. So we've finished in this corner because we've got our 2 clusters, so we want to wrap around for our next double crochet. Skip across into the corner of your lower ring. And so we're on our final cluster, so we want to chain 3, 3, then our final cluster of double crochet. So wrap into the corner, 1, 2, 3. So now we've done our whole ring and we want to join in a slip stitch. So we come across into the top of the stitch of our first chain, wrap around, pull through to the front and pull all the way through. Now, like I said, for this one, I'm going to be using the magic mint for my next round as well. And my little tip, instead of chaining directly now up to start, is to always go back in through the hole, because you'll notice it makes the stitch look a lot more like the bottom of a double crochet than chaining straight away. So if we take our hook and we go back underneath, grab the yarn, pull it through to the front, wrap around and pull through as our first stitch. I'll show you that one again. Put your hook on after your slip stitch. You go in, back through the hole, grab the yarn, pull it through to the front, wrap, pull through. That counts as our first chain, but the bottom of it you can see here looks a lot more like a double crochet than if you just chain straight up. So now we want to get into this hole here. So we're going to want to chain 2 more, 1, 2, to get the height. And here, when we work around our next row, you'll see that this one here ends as our final double crochet in our middle cluster. So we want to go into this hole here, we want to do our double crochet. So wrap around, into the corner, pull through 2, pull through 2, wrap, into the corner, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now we want to chain our 3 for our corner, 1, 2, 3, wrap around our hook, go back in, 1, 2, for our double crochet, round, 1, 2, round, 1, 2. Now our square's getting bigger, we've got more filler places in between before the corners. So for this one we want to wrap around for our double crochet and go into this gap here now. Wrap around in, pull through once, pull through twice, around, pull through once, pull through twice. And then, so this is working on our straight, and now we want to go into our corner. So we're going to wrap around to do our double crochet into the corner, wrap, pull through 2, pull through 2, wrap around, pull out, pull through 2, pull through 2, wrap in, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then our 3 chain for our corner. 1, 2, 3. And then back into our same hole again. Around the hook, in, pull through to the front, pull through 2, pull through 2, wrap around, into the front, pull, wrap around, to the front, pull through 2, pull through 2, around, into the front, pull through 2, pull through 2. And we can really see our granny square coming along here. And the bigger it gets, we're always only extending on the corners. So when we go up rounds, we'll have more filler spaces where we just, without the chain and straight double crochets. So our next group here is a cluster around the hook for our double crochet and our cluster of 3. And then onto our corner. So around the hook into our corner gap where we want to do 2 clusters. Remember our 3 chain for our corner, wrap around into the corner, pull through 2, pull through 2, round to the corner, pull through 2, pull through 2, round into the corner. And then we're going into the straight again, so round is our double crochet into the gap, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, round into the gap, ooh, pull through 2, pull through 2, round into the gap, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then into our corner. Wrap around your hook into your last corner for our 2 clusters. Around the hook, into the gap, pull through to the front, pull through 2, pull through 2. Our final 3 chain, 1, 2, 3, around the hook, into the corner, pull through 2, pull through 2, around, up, 2, 2, around, in, pull through 2, pull through 2. So now on our last bit of our straight, we can see our first chain up here acts as the last double crochet in our cluster, so we only want to put 2 double crochets in here. So we go around our hook once, pull through 2, pull through 2, around 3, pull through 2, pull through 2. And so with our 2, we now want to join into the top of our chain, through the stitch, under both of the feet, it holds more secure, wrap, pull through that for our slip stitch. Then to make sure it's secure, around the hook again, pull through, take our scissors, cut off, remembering to leave enough to sew in, pull through. And that's our second colour, but actually 3rd round that we've carried on. So we're now going to introduce our 3rd colour. I'm going to use Big Bird Yellow, and we want to remember to take our square, twist it round the side so all our ends aren't in the same place. So we're going to pull some off, join it in by doing our slip knot around onto our hook, pull, and I'm going to go into this gap here. So we're going to go into the gap, round, pull through to the front, so we've got 2 on a hook, wrap, pull through 2 to fix in our new colour, and that starts as our first chain. So we're going to want to chain 2 more up, wrap 1, 2, and this acts as our height and then basically a fake double crochet. So now we're going to want to put 2 more double crochet into this gap. So we wrap around, in, pull through 2, pull through 2, wrap around, in, and then we're going to go into our corner. For this set of rounds, I'm going to do 3 rounds in yellow. For these granny squares, we've been using all different amounts of rounds, between 1 round and 3 rounds in our colours. The bigger the rounds you do, the less ends you have to sew in. That's why we've mixed it. And it also makes it a little bit more special. So working our corner, our 2 clusters in the corner. And when you start getting bigger, you start seeing it's easier because we've got a lot more straight now. So we're going to want to do 2 sets of clusters in these groups here. So we do our double crochet. We do 3 into each gap. The square size we've been doing is 13 rounds. So you want to carry on this until you get up to your 13th round, changing your colours as you wish. You can have as many as you want, but I suggest for us we've been doing the mix between 1 round and 3 rounds. It just gets a really nice colour balance. So we've got to our corner now, so this is our first cluster in our corner. Remember to do our 3 chains, 1, 2, 3 in the corner and then back in. We want to carry on this all the way round. Get some more yarn, around into the next one, pull through 2, pull through 2, oh, off our hook. So go back into that one, in, pull through 2, pull through 2, around, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then into the next one. Pull through 2, around, into into our corner, so wrap in. We want to do our 2 clusters in the corner. So do our group of 3 double crochets. Our chain, 1, 2, 3, and 3 more. Now we've started establishing the granny square shape, it's a bit easier because we know where our corners are and where our straights are. In this pattern, we've been going straight into each gap with our double crochets. Some patterns they'll have a chain in between, but for a blanket, I always think this makes a lot nicer, denser blanket without the chain space. So we're nearly to our final corner. Wrap in, pull 3, in, pull 3, chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, around, pull 3, wrap, pull 3, pull some yarn. If you're new to crochet and you're struggling at all, always remember to keep looking at your tension hand. I always think the key is in your tension hand, that you're holding your yarn correctly, working with your tension space around. So this is our last cluster of double crochets for this round. So wrap our final one, pull 3, pull 3. Now we want to join in to our top slip stitch. So we come across here, into the top, 1, 2, 3, the top of the stitch under both, right, pull through to the front, pull through that to get our slip stitch, and then the same little trick technique that I showed you before. So now we take this, because we'll be carrying on the colour, the next row in yellow, we want to take our hook, go back under the hole before, grab the yarn, pull it through to the front, so you've got 2 loops on your hook, wrap and pull through 2. I'll go through that one quickly again. Get your yarn, go dip under, through the hole, grab your yarn, pull it through, wrap, pull through 2. And this counts as your first chain stitch. So then we want to chain up 2 more, and then into the next hole. And you just want to continue this, if you're doing the same size square as we do for the blanket, until you get 13 rounds. And if you want to break up the job as you go, sometimes it's good after 2 or 3 rounds to come and sew your end colours in before you get the whole square, so it's not quite such a task at the end of the blanket, because nobody likes sewing in their ends, so it's better to do them as you go. Well. So now we're on our last cluster, so we want to do our last group of 2 double crochets into our gap for this round. 1, 2. Fasten in with our slip stitch, so we go up through the 2, the 2, wrap, pull through. Remember to secure it off, we want to wrap, pull through, get our scissors, leave our end. So remember, this is our 3rd colour, but this is our actual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th round. You want to carry on your rounds until we get to 13 rounds, changing the colours whenever you like, but remember always to rotate your sides so your end's in a different place. And then I'm going to show you how we get to our final round and how we do our single crochet around the edge to get the easy edge before we start joining them together. So if you now carry on your rounds until you get to 13, and you can count your rounds by counting your clusters up in a diagonal. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up until you get to 13. Now we've got to our 13th round, we want to do our final round, which will be a single crochet around the whole square, like this one. And so we want to take our square, we want to introduce black. I've been going around the edge in black, which gives it a nice crisp graphic line. We want to do our slip knot, put it on our hook. And if we always start of all your squares in the same corner, we can leave a tail when we finish, which is really helpful when joining them all together. So in the corner, we want to take our corner and we want to do 3 single crochets over our corner gap. So we go in, pull through to the front, wrap and pull through. And that counts as our first single crochet. We go in 2 more times for the corner. And now we just want a single crochet across our whole edge of our square, going in every stitch top. So we work our way across the whole line. And so we want to single crochet into the whole stitch, so you'll know you're going in right if you go under the 2 strands at the top and there's 1 at the bottom. Pull through to the front, wrap, pull through, and that's our single crochet. By single crocheting the edge, it just makes a really nice crisp edge, which is then really easy to crochet together. A little tip, if you've got your last strand to sew in of your final round, is we can crochet this in. So we're going into the stitch for our single crochet, into the stitch. And then when you get to the bit with your tail of your final round, we literally just hold this along our edge and we encase it. So it's one end we don't have to sew in. So into the stitch, but over our tail, round, and we trap it in. So if you just lay your tail along your edge, that's all you need to do, and then it's very easy. So we're doing our single crochet in, up, and you see it just traps it in. It's a really quick and easy way to sew in your edges and your ends if you're doing a single crochet row. It's just holding it across the top and trapping it in. We want to work our way across the whole straight, and just remembering to do our 3 stitches in the corner. This bit's a bit tricky, you have to just pinch it in so it doesn't stick up, trap it right into the end, put a tight little bubble. Making sure you're holding the yarn right in your left hand, or your right hand if you're left-handed, just to hold your tension steady, because your tension when doing single crochet can sometimes be a bit different from your double crochet, but you don't want to pull the edge of your blanket too tight. So every now and then just hold it flat and check that your tension is flat. And once we get to the edge, trapped. Now we want to go over our corner again. 3, 1, 2, 3, and then into our next round. We want to do that around the whole outside of your blanket. So we're just getting to the edge now, finishing our single crochet round across the edge. If you're new to crochet, just check across your edge and that you've only been putting one stitch into every stitch, because if you're new, sometimes this is when your line's not quite straight. So we do our final single crochet to the last double crochet. We want to join in our corner, so we do our slip stitch, go through, grab, pull through to the front, and then pull all the way through. So my tip when we're finishing, when we've got to this point, is for cutting our tail, but to leave our tail long enough to join all our row of squares together. So you want to take your hook, and you've got your that you pulled through, then pull through one more time. But before we cut, we want to measure about 10 lengths of your square. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and cut. And this length should give you enough to join your squares together along this edge with single crochet. So then what you do is, once you've cut that, you can pull through that all to seal it off, and then we get to the fun part, joining our blanket together. Ooh, try not to knot your yarn. Pull all the way through, so your square's secure, and now you've got your yarn to join your pieces together. So we've got one square here. For our blanket, which is kind of sofa throw size, you can snuggle under, we've done it's 3 by 4, so you're going to need 12 squares all together. And now I'm going to show you how you put them together. I find it easiest if we join our long rows first. So you might want to lay them out on the floor first and decide which colourways you like where, if you've done a bit of mix. But then I'm going to show you how to join them. So we've got our tail here and our square, and here's one I did earlier, and we want to line them together, turn them round. So this is why it's really helpful to do your tail always in the same end, because then you can always join them together. And you want to put them right sides facing, so we have our join on the back. And we're just going to be doing a really easy single crochet join. So we take our hook and we want to insert it into our corner right next to our tail. So we go into the same stitch that's fixed, and we want to find the corresponding stitch on our other square. So we're going to go in, and for our first we've got our tail. If you hold it over the other side so you're able to grab it and pull it through to your right side. Oh, one came off, grab it, pull it through to the right side. And so now we're ready to go to single crochet across. So just to secure this, we're going to want to wrap around our needle and pull through, and that's secured our single crochet. Now, because our squares are the same size, they should just line up. So the tip here is to go into your next stitch and make sure that we're lined up, that it goes into the same corresponding stitch on the other square. Wrap your yarn, grab, pull it through, wrap. Just your normal single crochet, but you're going through 2 layers. So you want to go through the whole stitch on this square, and then go to your next one and go under the whole stitch on your next square. Grab, pull through to the front, wrap, pull through. Under the whole stitch, under the whole stitch. Because we've done a single crochet round, it makes it really easy to find and line up our stitches, but also because we've done the single crochet round on every square in the same colour, it means once we join it together, it will be an invisible join. So you want to go into the stitch, whole stitch, into the corresponding on the next square, pull through to the front, wrap, pull through both. So we're just doing single crochet in through this stitch and the corresponding square, yarn over, wrap, pull through to the front, so you've got 2, wrap, pull through both. And remember, when you're joining it, not to pull too tight, because it's always easier to pull tighter on single crochet, but you don't want your granny squares to kind of bubble, so make sure you have a relaxed tension. 3, both, pull through to the front. And work your way across the edge. So in. So we're just finishing the edge, making sure everything lines up, doing our single crochet right through to the edge. And then when we get into our corner, making sure we get into that middle corner stitch. Once we get there, single crochet our edge, we can grab our end, pull through our tail. That's joined our 2 together, and now you can fold them out, lay flat, and you can see that we've got an invisible seam. What you want to do now is, with your other tail on the other end, is join your next 2 squares across, so you get a long line, and then all you have to do is repeat the same process, but joining your next squares in, once they're joined, across on this line, and go across the whole length of your blanket. And then all your blanket will be joined together. And you'll just have the very final ends to go round. Just quickly want to show you our blanket that we've started. This one has already got our 2 rows of squares on, so we've got 8 squares all together here, and we just need our final row of 4 to go on. You can see we've joined them across here, that's our straights, and then along the big one. So how we would do that is, this is our one we finished earlier, which is our 2 together, and we'd want to have the 2 more squares to complete the whole 4 row. And all we do is then bring that on here, lay it face to face, and then we'll single crochet across the whole row. To get a slightly sturdier blanket around the edge, you can also add another black single crochet around the end, and then your blanket's finished. Happy crocheting!